Today we are building a 2x4 fixed leg bench. We have multiple fixed leg sizes. All these benches will pretty much follow this process of building. You're going to have a diagram that shows what size bench you have. This is our 2x4. You're also going to have a cut sheet. Look something like this, and it's going to tell you all the parts that's included and how many you need for to build that bench. This is standard for any of the benches that we offer. To start, we are going to work on the middle piece. This is called channel C. You're going to need an L bracket like this, and your channel that's labeled as C on your cut sheet. It's going to be labeled interior channel C. What you're going to do, put it on a table, have the C part of the channel facing down, take your L bracket, slide it into the C where it's flush, and then you want to clamp it. Then you want to take your screws and screw 2 screws to hold the chain or the angle, and then do the exact same thing on the other side. After you finish that, you can put it to the side. Look at your diagram. You might need more than one. For this bench only, you only need one of these. More other benches are going to need maybe 2, 3, 4. Look at your diagram. And you just did this part right in the center. Okay, next we're going to work on the starting part of the legs. You want your fixed leg channel that is labeled as N. You want to stand it upwards with the C part of the channel facing N. And then you want your exterior channel B, and you want to sit it right on top with the C pointing up. You want to take your clamps, clamp it fast on both sides, make sure it's nice and flush. After you get it looking pretty flush, you want to take your angle, go to the inside, and just make sure that it is at a 90-degree angle on both sides. After you finish that, you can take your hex head screw and your screwdriver or screw gun and just drill 2 on the top part and bottom part of the channel on both sides, and then you'll be done. After you got those screwed, you want your drill with a masonry bit. You want to drill a hole straight through, hitting both of the channels, a little bit more to the inside of where the bench would sit. This would be for your bolts and washers, so your washer does not hit the wall of the C on the inside. Once you have drilled a hole on both sides, you want to take your hex bolt and a washer, put your washer on your bolts, and put it straight down, and then you want a washer and your nuts, and then just screw it on, and do that on the same side. And then you want your wrench and socket, and you can just tighten them up. After you finish this one, you can put it to the side. You're going to have to build at least one more depending on the size bench you have. Now after you have finished building how many ever legs you need, you're going to take your legs, one set of your legs facing straight up with it pointing up in the air. Take your channel, this one is labeled A, exterior channel A. You want to line it up so it's nice and flush to the outer side of that. You want to take your clamp, go in, clamp it, do the exact same one on the other side. Once you got them clamped on both sides, you're going to take your hex screw and you're going to drill them in at a kind of diagonal pattern into this leg piece here. It's going to look something like this when you're done. You're still going to add that hex bolt in it in between, so leave enough space in between to do it. Once you got your 2 hex screwed at a kind of diagonal, you're going to take your masonry bit again and screw right in between it. After you got your hole drilled, you're going to take your hex bolt and your washer, feed it through, put your washer and your nut on, and then you want to tighten them up with your ratchet and socket. Once you got this side done, you're going to get your other set of legs that you made and put it over on the other side. Do the exact same process. After you got both sides of the legs on, you're going to get the piece that we started with, the center piece with the angles. You want to measure your bench. For this one in particular, it is 24 inches to the center. If you look at your diagram, it will show you where you got to place these. Always look at your diagram to refer to building any type of bench. After you have measured and marked where your center or where these center pieces have to go on your style of bench, you're going to take your piece, slide it right in between, line them up to the middle of the channel, and take your clamp and just clamp it so it's secure. Once you have them clamped, you want to take your hex screw. You want a screw going into the bench, catching the L bracket on the inside to hold it fastened together. After you got the center of it screwed fast, we're working on the leg brace now. Most of the time you want to measure 6 inches down and mark it. Do that on all 4 legs. After you got your measurements marked, you want to take your leg brace, number E. You want to line it up to the under part of your mark. Take your clamp, and you want to clamp it tight on both sides on all 4 corners. After you got it clamped up, you want to take your hex screw and just screw it holding it into the leg, leave enough space for your hex bolt later on. After you got it screwed fast, you're going to take your drill bit, drill a hole a little bit more to the inner part of the legs, but still catching both of the channels. This is where you're going to put another hex bolt in. After you got your holes drilled, we're going to be doing the same thing that we've been doing all the other holes. Get a hex bolt, your washer, feed it through, another washer and your nut, and then tighten it up with your wrench and sockets. After you got all that fastened down and nice and tight, you can pick the bench up, flip it over so it's standing up properly. We do suggest for some of the bigger benches to use at least 2 people because they can get heavy. This is a demonstration for benches that need a center leg. We are working on this part. If you have any questions, always refer to this diagram. What you're going to do is look at your overall diagram. It's going to show you the measurements of where the center legs are placed at. What you're going to do is measure to that measurement, make a mark. You're going to take your channel with the C facing up. It's going to run along the same as your leg braces. You want to line it up with your mark to one side of the mark and do the same thing with the other side, and then just screw it fast. Then after you got that fastened, what you're going to do is take your leg and you're going to sit it right next to it with the C part facing in, And then you're gonna do 2 screws and 2 bolts. After you have it flipped over, standing upwards, right now is a good time to make sure that all these bolts is nice and tight because they're the easiest to get to at this point. We have 2 different sizes of tops, 18 by 36 and 2 by 4. For this bench, we are using a 2 by 4. Look on your cut sheet or your diagram. It will show you what size tops you use and how many you need. Some of them you need to interlock. If you have problems doing that, we do have a video on our YouTube. Feel free to check that out for any help. After you put your bench top on top of your table, make sure it's nice and square on all 4 corners, evenly spaced out. Then you're going to take your screw. This is going to be a different screw. It's going to be a Phillips head screw. You're going to screw through the bench top into the fiberglass channel. Do that on all exposed holes that you see in the bench top. After you got your bench top screwed down, you're going to have some exposed screws that can be very sharp. We have some screw protectors. To put those on, you just slide them over top the tips of the screws. That'll prevent anyone from cutting their fingers. After you put all the screw covers on all the exposed screws, you're good to go. Your bench is ready to be used.